I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai.
Shalom Akim, this is Ariella. First off, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Once again, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, whom we worship. I want to send double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I want to send peace, love, and salutation to all the Akim around the globe, pushing the word in sincerity and truth. And today I just want to talk real briefly about the earthquakes that's been going on recently, and basically that's been happening over the course of our time coming up in this truth. I was, talking about this on the highways and the byways, and when the brother sent me this article, this old article here from, I believe, 2014, because earthquake activity globally has been kicked up, man, for the past decade. And it's all prophetic. It all goes hand in hand with everything that we're teaching and everything that's written in the scriptures, all through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. And so it's just more evidence that we are in these last times, we are in these last days, and they're getting ready to come against the men of the Lord. And basically, all hell is getting ready to break loose across the planet Earth. Okay? So I just want to read these articles, go through a couple of scriptures, and Lord willing, this is edifying. This article right here is from NBC News. Like I said, it was back from 2014, and it states worldwide surge in great earthquakes seen in past 10 years, from October 25th, 2014, by Linda Carroll. It says the annual number of great earthquakes nearly tripled over the last decade, providing a reminder to Americans that uninterrupted faults like those in the Northwest United States might be due for a big one. Between 2004 and 2014, 18 earthquakes with magnitudes of 8.0 or more rattled the subduction zones around the globe. That's an increase of 265% over the average rate of the previous century, which saw 71 great earthquakes, according to a report to the annual meeting of Geological Society of America this week in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's clear that recent great earthquakes triggered related major quakes, says study author Thorne Lay, a distinguished professor of earth and planetary sciences at the University of California, Santa Cruz. If we look at all earthquake magnitude, the past 10 years is not unusual in terms of the rate of events. The rate increases are just seen for events with magnitudes larger than 7.5 or so, he said. This suggests that great events were catching up to the plate boundary motions in several regions with fortuitous similar timing. And by fortuitous, Lay means that he thinks it is just a coincidence that all those big earthquakes happened over the last 10 years. Right. Related quakes strike along same faults. It says, so Lay isn't suggesting that an earthquake in Japan or Sumatra is going to trigger a big one in the Cascadia subduction zone, the line along the coast of Washington, Oregon, and northernmost California, where the oceanic plates dive under the continental plate. But he says a big earthquake at one end of a subduction zone might trigger other further down along the same fault. This happens in Sumatra, where the great 2004 event activated the adjacent 2005 event, and the two activated a slightly more distant 2007 event, he said. So what does that mean for Cascadia subduction zone? The offshore fault appears to be fully locked up by friction, with strain building up until the next large earthquake rupture releases it, Lay says. So basically said, all these quakes are coming together and is leading up into maybe a possible bigger quake along this fault line, okay? And so if you go to this article here, you can see this image of they showing you the subduction zone line, and then they showing you basically where they getting activity, okay? So I want to read this scripture real quick In Mark, the 13th chapter, 8 verse, it says, "For a nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows," right? These are the beginnings of sorrows. Okay, and so we're seeing this earthquake activity go crazy, man. Dabu 7 was talking about it. He's bringing out a lot of information, talking about how they might be suppressing the actual numbers because these people don't want a panic.
This is Dabu 7. Want to share some information here with you guys here in regards to earthquakes. It looks like there's definitely a cover-up going on, and there has been. When dealing with USGS specifically, we see how sometimes they not only just don't even show the quakes, but they will significantly downgrade the quakes. It's no secret, here recently we've seen an uptick in quake activity, especially significant quake activity. You can see the swarms continue off the coast of Ecuador, and these are quakes that they just absolutely cannot deny because everyone that hits over here is felt and picked up, especially when they're hitting this close to the coast, very shallow, 4s and 5s. And this area of Ecuador already getting hit with a significant quake. That followed the Japan quakes, and as you can see here, some activity popping up offshore El Salvador, where they recently saw the skies light up red after a fireball went through, as well as Honduras and Guatemala seeing activity, bigger activity in the past. And we've talked about how these areas here as well. Now, Alaska has its swarm continuing, but it's nothing massive. But when it comes to Yellowstone here, you can see they're showing not a single earthquake on the map. Not a single tremor, nothing when it comes to Yellowstone. And we know that there's constant little 1s and 2s popping off there, and they don't want to show it. Now, we've seen recent activity here on the ridge lines, and this is something to pay attention to. And you can see we've had one just hit there in France. The only thing I don't like about this quake map, and I love this quake map, is that you can't go back in time any further than what they've got here. Once it falls off the map, it's off at the end, and that's it. There's no more backtracking and trying to track them. You have to go over to USGS or another site, and if you go over to USGS, you're going to find that a lot of things are going to be looking different. Now, when it comes to Japan, we know that they've been hit with some pretty big quakes here as of late too, and here in southern Japan, you can see there is a report of no earthquake activity. I want everyone out there to be aware that the number of earthquakes in Japan exceeded 600 in just 5 days after these big quakes hit, and they continue. So, can somebody explain how the earthquake maps are not showing anything going on over here?
You know, they want to be able to control the population and basically tell the people what to do, so when it's time to lay down, they will, you know? But those who are in the spirit, reading the scriptures, we understand that this is a sign. This is a sign of the times, man. So we rejoice in all these things that's happening, because that tells us that Yahushua is getting ready to return. Okay, I want to get another quick article to see if it'll pull up. All right, so this is another article in the Asian Times. It says Japan and Earthquakes, a study guide by Nusha Venkat, April 16, 2006. Japan, Ecuador, and Tonga were next in the ring of fire. Okay. All right, so Slovakia, my computer's moving real slow. It says, what is the Pacific Ring of Fire? Call it the biggest crash scene on Earth. These boundaries mark the collision between two of the planet's tectonic plates. The plates are pieces of crust that slowly move across the planet's surface over millions of years. It says, what does it do? The Ring of Fire or the subduction zones are responsible for the world's biggest earthquakes, the most terrible tsunamis, and some of the worst volcanic eruptions, according to Live Science. Within the Ring of Fire, several tectonic plates, including the Pacific Plate beneath the Pacific Ocean and the Philippine Sea Plate, mash and collide. It is the most active quake belt. This week's earthquakes in Japan, Ecuador, and Tonga seem to have been caused by tectonic plate collisions in the Pacific Ring of Fire. Japan quakes may be caused by the Philippine Sea Plate diving underneath the Eurasia Plate. 6 massive quakes in less than 4 days. Thursday, 6.5. There was a 6.5 in Japan. A 6.5 magnitude earthquake shook Japan, killing 9 at 9:26 p.m. local time. Over 900 injured. An estimated 44,000 were evacuated, with over 44 critical injured. Saturday, a 7.3 in Japan at 1:25 a.m. Okay, and this was the epicenter was in Kumamoto City. I said more than 1,500 people were reportedly injured. Massive damages to roads, bridges, buildings were reported. Okay, that same day, a couple of hours later, there was a 5.8. And then it's that same day at 7 a.m. in the morning, there was a 5.3. The next, then it says Sunday, the next day in Ecuador, there was a 7.8 magnitude. At least 77 people died and 578 injured in Ecuador when the earthquake struck off the country's northwest Pacific coast early Sunday, causing considerable damage near the epicenter as well as in the city of, let's say, Guayaquil. Sunday in Tonga, the earthquake struck the Polynesian kingdom of Tonga. The quake struck in the Pacific around 7:30 p.m. local time. Most of the kingdom's 170 islands are uninhabited. Okay? It says 3 necessary ingredients for a quake tsunami combo. First, quake must be at least magnitude 7 trembler. Second, the quake has to be shallow. Finally, the quake's epicenter has to be underneath the ocean. Okay? It says 4 massive earthquakes struck Japan in less than 3 days this week. The strongest measured 7.3 on the Richter scale early Saturday. Massive damage to roads, bridges, buildings were reported. The death toll by Saturday's end reached 41 as rescuers struggled to reach survivors. Thousands sustained serious injuries and about 90,000 evacuated from the quake hit southern regions and admitted to emergency shelters. Then you read the rest of this article, man. It just goes into about these earthquakes and stuff like that. All right, and so we're seeing a massive uptick of these earthquakes over the course of the last few years, but now it's even becoming more and more and more and more. Okay, to where people think the big one might be coming, maybe in the U.S., maybe over there in Japan, but somewhere around this ring of fire within this area. And if it hits just right, it could cause a possible tsunami to hit the coast of one of these countries, man, and just wipe out thousands of people. Okay? And it's all through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Okay? The Most High is causing unrest to go all across the globe, man, because he's preparing for the return because Yahweh Shai is preparing to return. Okay? I want to read this article too. It says, this is from endoftheamericandream.com. It says 5 major earthquakes in 48 hours as a seismologist warns catastrophic mega earthquakes are coming. This was written on April 14, 2016 by Michael Snyder. It says, why is the crust of the earth shaking so violently all of a sudden? Over the past 48 hours, there have been 5 major earthquakes globally, and one prominent seismologist has declared that catastrophic mega earthquakes could be on the way. In fact, seismologist Roger Billum of the University of Colorado has made headlines all over the world by warning that current conditions might trigger at least 4 earthquakes greater than 8.0 in magnitude. If his projections are accurate, our planet could be on the precipice of a wave of natural disasters unlike anything that any of us have ever experienced before. Since the beginning of 2016, South Asia has been hit by an unusually high number of large earthquakes. And this has scientists groping for an explanation. The following comes from the Express. Scientists say that there's been an average number of significant earthquakes across South Asia and the Pacific since the start of the year. The increased frequency has sparked fears of a repeat of the Nepal quake of 2015 when 8,000 people died. Or even worse, Roger Bingham, seismologist of University of Colorado, said the current conditions might trigger at least 4 earthquakes greater than 8.0 in magnitude. And if they delayed, the strain accumulated during the centuries provokes more catastrophic mega earthquakes. It says a single magnitude 8.0 earthquake in a populated area would be a disaster of historic proportions. If we were to see 4 of them like Roger Bingham is projecting, that would be a complete and utter nightmare. It is important to keep in mind that a magnitude 8.0 earthquake would be many, many times larger than the twin earthquakes that hit Japan earlier today. A devastating 6.4 magnitude earthquake has struck Japan hours after a first, which killed at least 3 and injured 19 others. The quakes, which struck the southwestern island of Kyushu, leveled more than a dozen homes, sparked fires, and trapped several people under collapsed buildings. Around 350 military personnel have been dispatched to aid in the rescue efforts, said Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga. The first earthquake measured 6.5 in magnitude hit the Southeast Asian country late Friday local time, according to Japan Meteorological Agency. All right, and then it's going into that next earthquake that hit. Okay, I want to skip down. It says, so why is this happening? Why is Asia shaking so violently all of a sudden? And does the shaking bode ill for other areas along the Ring of Fire, including the west coast of the United States? I think that it's important to point out that all of this shaking did not just begin this week. In fact, ever since the start of the calendar year, there has been a lot of unusual earthquake activity all over Asia. It says just 4 days ago on April 10th, 6 people died in Pakistan when a 6.6 magnitude quake hit Kabul with aftershocks in India. 2 days before on April 8th, there was a magnitude 4.2 in Nepal. Nepal has suffered a larger 5.5 magnitude February 22nd. A month before, January 20th, there was a 6.1 magnitude in China. 16 days earlier, 11 people died when a 6.7 magnitude earthquake hit Manipur, India. In addition, let us not forget about all the volcanic eruptions that have been in the news in recent weeks. According to Volcano Discovery, 38 volcanoes around the globe are erupting right now. This is definitely an unusually high number. Boom, look, he's going to bring out Matthew 24. Yahushua warned us that there will be earthquakes in diverse places just prior to his return. This is something that I discussed quite a bit in my new book. If we truly are in the times that the Bible refers to as the last days, we should expect the shaking of our planet to continue to intensify, right? And he's right about that. Let me see if there's any more in here. No, that's really all I want on that. But yeah, man, we should expect more and more and more of these tumults, rise of the people, okay, to happen. And so we were watching Bible prophecy happen right before our face, man. So, that's just even more incentive for us to push forward the word and to get in the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Okay? That being said, I'm going to read this in 2nd Ezra. This is proof that the Apocrypha is a part of the scriptures, because it was quoting from the Apocrypha in the New Testament. It says, 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. And he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Okay? And so we're watching these things reveal themselves. The manifestation of the prophecies, the manifestation of the return of Yahweh Shai, man, is happening before us, man. So it's time for us to set our minds right and do what we need to do, man. With that, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. I want to send double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone once again. I want to send peace, love, and salutation to you, Aki. I'm out there kicking the word in sincerity and truth. Shalom.
I'll take this a little step further here and show you the headlines of Barbados jolted by a massive quake, a 6.9. And most of you, if you were following USGS, you would have never heard about this quake because they listed it a full point below what it came in at, a very shallow quake. They had it listed as a 5.8. I actually took their reading, and now when going back and I double-checked the article, I actually went to the University of the West Indies, their Seismic Research Center, went there for April 20th and clicked on the details, and sure enough, they have it listed as a 6.9 magnitude earthquake. This is the deception that is being pulled off in front of the people's eyes constantly. You really have to have a couple different places to be able to check with the earthquake activity. And some places, like Yellowstone, it's got their own graphs and charts. Arkansas has places like that has their own areas around New Madrid. Sometimes you have to keep tabs on those localized charts and graphs because the big dogs aren't wanting to report it, especially USGS.